What's up, you guys? Sean Rossat, managing editor, FightfulWrestling.com, here with another video column from Joe Holbert. Click his author's page, show him some love, visit his articles, follow him on Twitter, but leave us a thumbs up and subscribe. This one about Randy Orton, a legacy yet to be decided. In wrestling history, most names are positioned in one category or another. Legends are celebrated and their counterparts critiqued. An almost black or white mentality surrounding each individual career. Some names, of course, divide those variants. Rare stars that split fans with their every move. This Sunday's WrestleMania will again once highlight the greatest example of that imaginable. Randy Orton, just days away from his 15th outing at WrestleMania, a man that bizarrely mirrors and contrasts them at all once as his opponent, AJ Styles. One of the absolute greats of his generation, Styles will undeniably be among Orton's elite foes, and that's a compliment in itself. 15 years ago, Orton entered his first WrestleMania and fittingly found himself surrounded by legends. Standing alongside Batista and Ric Flair, Orton took on the Rock and Sock connection, Mick Foley and The Rock. That proved to be just the starting point. Following that effort was an encounter opposite The Undertaker. Orton wouldn't end the streak, but his presence on that stage felt. The third generation star then became a title match regular on the industry's largest show, clashing with icons like Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, Triple H, and John Cena, while WWE's biggest crowns were on the line. Orton wasn't featured centrally every year, but his main event status had been solidified, regularly returning to the mountaintop and even entering WrestleMania 30 as WWE champion. Since then, Orton has logged in yet another major title match on that stage, leaving 2017's WrestleMania as WWE champion again. The resume is staggering and almost unmatched. With longevity and an impressive body of work on his side, Orton's place as a legend seems indisputable, but right or wrong, his name is still surrounded by intense debate and discussion. Orton's talent has never been in question, but in times his application has left some underwhelmed. That perception has become almost linked to Orton's performance, with his smooth, poised style often being criticized as lifeless or formulaic. While simply a matter of opinion, that thought process has certainly become widespread over the years. In truth, though, Orton's often been a victim of the same circumstances so many of his peers have shared. His initial in-ring output was excellent, performing beyond his years and remaining consistent as his presence increased. At times, Orton has prioritized traditional villain approach, emphasizing aggression and spite rather than thrills and excitement. That simply wasn't his role, instead playing the nasty blank canvas for his protagonist to shine on. Those matches aren't for everyone, but Orton remained on top of the card, dominating an era that fans still critique. Headlining WWE events is an art form in itself, an immense height that'll inevitably result in some falls along the way. Orton was no different, but his own struggles seemed multiplied by the direction leading him, particularly a lengthy program with John Cena that left many analysts disgruntled. It was a clash of two generational greats, but its focus furthered a resentment towards both men. They were deemed chosen ones, the status quos that halted evolution or progression. And as foes, they produced some memorable encounters, but that lingering perception didn't alter regardless. Either way, Orton's organic popularity soon led him to the biggest babyface stint of his career, famously allowing for a great series of matches with Christian. Those matches really exemplified the brilliance of both men, a fundamental excellence that, when combined with effective storytelling, resulted in enthralling pay-per-view affairs. This portion strengthened Orton's eventual turn, too, with the supposed corporate choice proving to be opposition for the surging Daniel Bryan. 2014 was a tremendous year for Orton, following up his WrestleMania outing with a memorable Evolution reunion, as well as captivating outings opposite Roman Reigns, Chris Jericho, and another pay-per-view clash with Cena. That particular match would be inside Hell in a Cell, and before long, Orton's popularity had guided him away from the dark side again, unforgettably RKOing Seth Rollins at WrestleMania and continuing to perform well, even if a slightly lesser spotlight. At times, WWE programs can take unexpected turns. That was clearer than ever in 2017 with Orton's infamous Bray Wyatt feud finding itself swarmed in theatrics that frankly only damaged the final product. A Jinder Mahal match, and didn't really do much to fix that, despite the Punjabi prison match really not following up on a great second meeting that the two had. Mahal's rise had been heavily criticized, and Orton was his initial counterpart along the way. Orton's next foe had a different reputation. Rusev caught fire in the middle of their seemingly unimportant pay-per-view program. Instead, Rusev Day would become one of the program's hottest features. And when Orton came out the victor, the criticism surrounding him only multiplied. That aforementioned perception was back again, with the alleged chosen one still standing in the way of a potentially rising star. In truth, that simply was a result of two match outcomes, but it didn't temper that resentment either way. Since then, Orton's role has steadied. He didn't appear in as many marquee singles matches, but he still managed to make an impact. Entering Hell in a Cell as a horrific antagonist again, he made magic with Jeff Hardy in a very violent battle that saw him ripping at the ears of Jeff. That brings us back to where it began, this Sunday's WrestleMania. An anticipated match with AJ Styles. For some, Styles is a stark contrast from Orton, which this program has largely been built on. And that's the beauty of pro wrestling. It's a subjective form of entertainment that by definition allows us to perceive every angle and star differently. There's a good chance that in this article, Joe's mentioned matches that are barely a distant memory in your mind. That's the reality of this genre. Not everything is for anyone, but in Joe's view, history will be kind to Orton. While the surrounding circumstances have impacted his perception along the way, fans still treat Orton like a star, and his body of work remains admirable. It's not been flawless. But then again, how many stars have remained featured in this fashion for so long? In a vacuum, Joe says that Orton's performances prove his worth rather well. An example of how incredible his longevity was even possible to begin with. Orton is sublimely skilled and slick, graced with wonderful timing and composure. And the result of those talents, that's for you to find yourself. Thankfully, Styles is no different. And at MetLife, he says that he hopes these two minds are given the time necessary to produce something befitting of their talents. Throughout his various incarnations, Orton has seldom changed much, and in the same way, his WrestleMania presence has also rarely wavered. Whether you've liked the matches or not, Orton's longevity remains staggering, a constant in a world that's seemingly forever in transition. Regardless of the years, the letters RKO are now firmly among them. While the rest is contentious, that much simply isn't up for debate.